The Rick and Bubba Show. We're back at 866 We Be Big. If you have questions, and you might, Dr. Michael Clinton joins us now from Clinton Plastic Surgery Center. Dr. Clinton, welcome to the Rick and Bubba Show. How are you, buddy?
I am doing great. Thanks.
Man, what an honor to meet you. Now, obviously, in your line of work, this month is it has a lot of special meaning because I know that you face on and on and on, unfortunately. We just do the good news first. I always like to do good news first. We when it comes to breast cancer research, we are seeing results. This is a cancer that if with early detection, we are having great success with as far as saving a woman's life.
Absolutely,
and men.
True.
I mean, it can happen to men as well.
Much less often, but absolutely true.
Yeah, so that's the good news. Mm-hmm. The bad news is that there are a lot of women that the best way for them to have their lives saved, which, I mean, it's a pretty easy decision as far as life or death, is to have either partial or full mastectomies, which and that does bring them survival. But as far as a woman, what they're facing after that is also extremely traumatizing. I mean, yes, your life has been saved, but you also are facing something that can be very emotional and can bring a lot of mental duress. On how you see yourself, how your husband will see you, or the potential husband if you're single. So that's kind of where you come in.
You've nailed it, because it's more than just finding out that you have cancer. It's cancer on such a personal level, especially for the vast majority of our patients are females as a plastic surgeon, and so we relate to that. And has so much to do with self-esteem. And we would hope that as a person that we're more than just breasts and any part of the body, but it is a very uniquely personal thing. And as a man working in this field, I've grown to appreciate that. But you're right, there's a good news, bad news thing, and the good news is great progress on detecting. With the new genetic markers, we're now finding out people who probably are more prone to develop breast cancer, as in the case of Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, I asked you that in the break. That seemed like such a severe. That's what I'm looking for when you do something before it happens. You're
extreme.
What
Radical.
Well, no. when you're trying to take action before something happens, that's called I am proactive. It seems to be incredibly proactive for her to say, in my genetic code, I am susceptible. And I think that I will get it. So instead of being in that life and death situation, I'm going to go ahead and have this done now.
See, I call it courageous. I think she was very courageous, and her personal, political, whatever things aside, what she did on a personal basis, from a courage standpoint, just can't be overstated. She took her family history, she took the state of the art as far as how we can measure these genetic markers, which you can absolutely do. Anybody can have this done. Insurance doesn't always pay for it, but in certain cases it will. But when you've got, for example, a mother who's had breast cancer, maybe a sister who's had breast cancer, maybe you've had multiple biopsies that were unsure, a lot of these things were true for her, and then to be tested and find out she was positive for the gene, she was at a very high risk of developing breast cancer. And then the fact that she chose to do it really tells you a lot about the state of the art of what we do reconstructively. You could look at her less than a month later in her evening gown, and you couldn't even tell she'd had this surgery. That's what's exciting about this with us, and we think it's bringing people closing the loop, so to speak, on breast cancer to come back and do reconstruction.
Well, and I think one of the things that you being on, I think, helps too, because I think a lot of times, and this is foolish, and it probably means that you're not a woman if you don't understand that, but even if you're not a woman and you're married to a woman or have a daughter and a mother, and we all, all of us have a mother. You may think of this as, well, I mean, if you have to have this done, it saves your life, then, it seems a little superficial to worry so much about the reconstructive part of it. But that's just not true. I mean, when this is associated with womanhood, this is associated with motherhood. Mm-hmm. It is something that is very important to women, and not from we're not talking about just from an intimacy standpoint with your husband. We're talking about how a woman's body looks and presents herself, especially like you say from the feminine part of it. This is something that mentally is and emotionally is very important.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, we all have vanity. I mean, biblically speaking, and it's spoken to on many different levels. So we all have vanity. This is not vanity. This is a.
And I think some people think it is.
Yeah, and this is a sense of wholeness, and it's not for everybody. I mean, we counsel people, consult with people about the options for breast reconstruction with them, and sometimes the decision is, this is not for me.
Right.
I'm fine.
And that's fine.
And that goes even for the different stages of reconstruction. We bring people to the point where usually the final part of that is a nipple reconstruction. And some people look and go, gosh, I'm okay without it. And
right.
then some people go, no way. We're
so
going to go all the way.
We're going to go.
Absolutely. So
now, let me ask you this, because I know some women who may have gone through this and are going through it, and your heart just breaks because I've been with family members and friends, and it really seems to touch all of us in some way, shape, or form, unfortunately, either directly or indirectly. But you're thinking about the process. I hear what you're saying, Doctor. I hear what you're saying, Rick or Speedy. I completely get it, and yes, I am going through that. I'm just kind of afraid. What is it going to be like? What is the recovery like? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, that's a very interesting aspect, because most of the time we get involved with patients when they've just found out they have breast cancer. Mm-hmm. You can imagine the shock that they've gone through.
Sure.
That's the phone call we all don't want to get. But they've just found out they have breast cancer, and one of the first things that happens after that, after they've talked with their general surgeon, is they then get them involved with the plastic surgeon. And I think sometimes it's a little overwhelming to start talking about breast reconstruction options. It can be done. It can be done at the same time as the mastectomy. It's called immediate. But it can also be done delayed. Now, if I pick up with a patient that, this is just too much, I tell them, you're not burning any bridges by just having the mastectomy first, and let's get you cured, or make you feel like you're cured from that before we do the reconstruction.
It's funny you said that, because last hour, if you were listening, or yesterday for some of you, Scott Dawson was on about visiting Cairo, and when I first met with him, I mean, literally got off the plane. He had an incredible story, but it had just happened. He was so overwhelmed by it, and I said, man, I want you to come on the show, but let's wait a week. And he said today when he left, he said, man, I'm glad we did that, because now I had clarity. Mm-hmm. I'm away from the emotion of it. Mm-hmm. I now can walk through it in what I've learned and what I saw. Same thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes you just need to, let's get through it. Let's get the prognosis, and then let's talk about it.
And as a patient, you need to find a physician that appreciates that. And is willing to see that and treat you individually and not put you into a cookie-cutter approach with these things.
Well, plus something this traumatizing, and we've all been through some kind of trauma. You don't want to feel like, wait a minute, is somebody trying to sell me something right now? Are you kidding me? You know what I mean? Are you trying to talk me into something? And I know that's not what you would do, but if I'm emotional and I've gone and I've got this news, whether I'm a husband of a wife or a son or a dad, I might be sitting there going, hey man, are you trying to sell my loved one on something like this right now? Like, can we wait? Right. So sometimes waiting's fine, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes people know that's what they want.
You're exactly right, and we saw that a lot initially when people would come in and we were laying out all these complex things that we could do for reconstruction, and you could just see it in their eyes that they just weren't there.
I can't take that on right now.
And you need to pick up on that.
So. Yeah. Well, we're going to put all the information there on our website at rickandbubba.com. And if you want to talk to, Dr. Clinton, obviously, his information there, we know him, we've got him here, and you can speak to that. But, you also can, I'm sure you guys can connect them if you're watching this show or listening somewhere else where it doesn't make sense for them to fly into where you are.
Absolutely.
You'd help hook them up with people that you feel good about in their area as well.
There are board-certified plastic surgeons all over this country that do this stuff every day that would love to get involved.
Harriet is calling out of Homewood. Harriet, you're on with Dr. Clinton. Go right ahead.
Dr. Clinton, 13 years ago, just about this time of year, you did my plastic surgery. I had breast cancer, and I am a survivor, and I just wanted to thank you.
So you're someone who went through this firsthand, and you also used Dr. Clinton?
Yes.
And well, that's got to feel emotional when you have these people who call you back and come back and say, "Man, I just want to thank you for being there when I needed you."
Yes.
Well, this is an unexpected blessing, Harriet. Thank you so much for taking the time to say that. You've made my day.
Well, you've helped make my life, and I just had to thank you.
Well, you're kind. You're kind to say that.
Yeah, Harriet, thanks for that. And
And thank you so much because you prayed for me before I went into surgery, and that meant a lot to me too.
yeah, it's always comforting. I know sometimes you wonder whether someone would want that or not, but it makes a huge difference when you see your doctor start praying.
Take the risk.
Yeah, Harriet, thanks for that call.
Thank you, Harriet.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Yeah, glad to hear you're doing well. Dr. Clinton, what a pleasure to meet you, and glad to have you here on the program.
Thank you, Rick.
If you want to find out more, go to rickandbubba.com. You'll see there in show notes all the information. Clinton Plastic Surgery Center, Dr. Michael Clinton. Obviously, they can help you if this is somewhere you would like to go. If not, they'll help connect you with some board-certified surgeons who do the same thing in other places. And ClintonPlasticSurgery.com, the website, too. We'll be right back.
Rick and Bubba, Rick and Bubba.